Any views and opinions presented in this video do not intend to malign religion, ethnic groups, club, organization, or individual. Credits to the owner, the references, videos, and images used are for educational purposes only. Good day everyone, this is Danala Dasma and thank you Ms. Mediana for your very comprehensive and detailed discussion about globalization of religion, still under lesson 4, the metaphor, a world of ideas. And as for today, I will continue discussing the same topic, but it will be the continuation for Ms. Mediana's discussion, and it will be all about globalization, engendering greater religious tolerance. A gentle reminder for everyone, remember that listening is the key to understanding, so please bear with me. By definition, the globalization phenomenon as an inescapable process has influenced many scopes of human life. This phenomenon, with its superpower of influence, has created new and different age than the past. Among individual and social various scopes of human life, economy, culture, society, and politics have been more influenced by globalization. In this lesson, I am going to discuss how globalization engenders greater religious tolerance across the aspects of politics, economics, and society. But before we go further with our discussion, let us first identify what does engendering mean. When we say engendering, it means to be the cause of something, to bring about, make happen, or compel. Therefore, it was through globalization that there is what we call culture of pluralism or religious pluralism. This refers to the state of being where individual in a religiously diverse society has the rights, freedoms, and safety to worship or not according to their conscience, regardless of their form of worship and to whom they render their worship. And although the number is overlapping, each religion is distinct, meaning they have diverse ways in how they stand on their religious beliefs. Therefore, no religion can judge other religions based on personal perspectives, since respect is equally distributed and recognized as the source of significant values needed in our society. And because of globalization, we are now able to identify the world's leading religious traditions. We have Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Indeed, we are now living in an era where we are globally diverse in cultures and beliefs. But what is common to these overlapping religions is the religious golden rule. It is said that during the 6th century BC, it was Confucius who first introduced this golden rule, which is do not do to others what you do not want to be done to yourself. On the contrary, for the Christianity, the known golden rule was the actual quote from the Bible, which is found in the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 31. The reason why this quote has been the religious golden rule of almost all religion, it is because through this quote, it produces religious value. And one of the religious values brought by this religious golden rule is human dignity. At its most basic, the concept of human dignity is that the belief of all people hold a special value that's tied solely to their humanity. It has nothing to do with their class, race, gender, religion, abilities, or any other factor other than being human. The next one is equality. People who are treated fairly and have the equal opportunity are better able to contribute socially and economically to the community and to enhance growth and prosperity. Freedom, in which people have the opportunity to speak, act, and pursue happiness without unnecessary external restrictions. Freedom is important because it leads to enhanced expressions of creativity and original thought, increased productivity, and overall high quality of life. Solidarity. Only by respecting the uniqueness of cultures, globalization can strengthen cultures through healthy dialogue rooted in solidarity. The last one, which is also very important, is the value of peace. It is a stress-free state of security and calmness that comes when there's no fighting or war. everything coexisting in perfect harmony and freedom. And because of these values, globalization engenders religious tolerance on politics, economics, and society. Now let's talk about how globalization engendering greater religious tolerance on politics. Politics refers to the set of activities of government, politicians, and political parties. These activities associated with the governance of a country or other area, especially the debate or conflict among individuals or parties having or hoping to achieve power. The involvement of religious groups in global politics is not new, and actually there are three ways on how religion influences international politics. First, religion influences the worldviews of many decision makers and their constituents and shapes the environment in which decision makers act. Second, religion is a source of legitimacy for political decisions and actions. And third, religion is an issue that crosses borders in many ways, including domestic conflicts with international implications. This underscores the importance of religion in the study of international politics and has built global political forums that integrate cultural, ethnic, and religious differences, ideologies that were once perceived as dividing the world, but through a large number of international organizations such as the United Nations, World Health Organization, and as well as regional organizations like European Union, the Organization of the Islamic Conference, the African Union, and now many of the religious communities take part in the discussions of international issues. The Catholic Church, or also known as the Roman Catholic Church, is the largest Christian church with 1.3 billion baptized Catholics worldwide as of 2019, while the World Council of Churches, or the WCC, is the broadest and most inclusive among the many organized expressions of the modern ecumenical movement, a movement whose goal is Christian unity. The WCC brings together churches, denominations, and church fellowships in more than 110 countries and territories throughout the world, representing over 500 million Christians and including most of the world's Orthodox churches, scores of Anglican, Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, and Reformed churches, as well as many united and independent churches. And also one of the religious communities is the Jewish diaspora. This is the dispersion of Jews among the Gentiles after the Babylonian exile, or the aggregate of Jews or Jewish communities scattered in exile outside Palestine or the present-day Israel. Now, to fully understand the concept of globalization engendering religious tolerance on politics, we have here images of political leaders, national and international, where they have to get, as you can see, they are trying or they're doing their best to earn loyalty and trust from religious communities and organizations. But why do politicians have to do these things? It is because it is an important indicator of political legitimacy. Political trust, generally defined as citizens' confidence in political institutions, the belief in the righteousness of these political institutions and the regime of which they are part, and if people will know that you belong, or you communicate or interact with credible religious communities, you are most likely to get a high trust rating. And from those pieces of information, we can now imagine, we can now picture out how globalization engenders greater religious tolerance on politics while observing and maintaining religious values to make the world a better place. And with that, the Parliament of the World's Religions brings together leaders and individuals from various religious backgrounds to foster and celebrate the ongoing work of spiritual and religious communities working towards a more just, sustainable, and peaceful world. Now let us proceed to globalization engendering greater religious tolerance on economics. In the terms of economics, as the economy of the major countries of the world has grown, the main religions of each of those countries have also grown financially, providing more financial resources for religions to spread their beliefs and continue fulfilling their general purpose of spreading their beliefs to people all over the world. In the years 1900 and 1920, the system of stewardship, appeals, pledges, and envelopes arose that is in use today. At present, pledging is the most method of raising financial support is in a combination of tithing and pledging. Most religious institutions today get their financial support from giving by members. Now let us look at the two-way causation and thereby the relationship between religion and economic development. The two-way causation is a term used to describe certain economic relationships or an event that has an effect in both directions. When we look at the effects of economic development on religion, we find that overall development, which is represented by per capita gross domestic product or GDP, tends to reduce religiosity. Now, how exactly does globalization engender religious tolerance in economics? The empirical evidence supports to a degree which holds that with increased income, people tend to become less religious, as measured by religious attendance and religious beliefs. Economic development causes religion to play a lesser role in the political process and policy making, in the legal process, as well as in social arrangements such as marriages, friendships, and colleagues. If that's the case, then how exactly does globalization engenders religious tolerance in economics? Now, there are four primary indicators of the influence of religion on economic development. The first indicator is in the aspect of education. We find that religious beliefs are compatible with increased education and knowledge. Religion is attractive to people with higher levels of educational attainment because religious beliefs can be neither proved nor disproved. Educated people engage in speculative reasoning and are better able to think abstractly. Therefore, religion can offer something to them. Religious beliefs matter for economic outcomes. They reinforce character traits such as hard work, honesty, thrift, and the value of time. Other worldly compensators, such as belief in heaven, hell, and the afterlife, can raise productivity by motivating people to work hardly in this life. Religious rewards will also motivate people to work hard and cultivate virtuous behavior. The second indicator is the value of time. It is also measured by effects on per capita GDP. The main estimated growth effect is the positive response to an increase in belief relative to belonging or attending. The results show that for given religious beliefs, increases in church attendance tend to reduce economic growth. In contrast, for given church attendance, increases in some religious beliefs. Notably, other worldly compensators tend to increase economic growth. To put it another way, the main growth effect that we find is a positive response to an increase in belief relative to belonging. A certain amount of participation in religious activities is positive in that people acquire certain religious beliefs. But if people spend too much time in religious activities, there is a negative effect on economic growth. As noted above, belief levels are high relative to the low levels of attendance at formal services. The third indicator is life expectancy. All countries, rich and poor, make efforts to improve the health of their populations, not at the same rates or with the same success, but most attempt to reduce mortality and increase health. The influence of religious participation and religious beliefs on life expectancy can be positive. For example, religious participation among young people is correlated with a lower probability of substance abuse and juvenile delinquency. Religious participation and beliefs have a salutary effect on health and well-being. Religious participation lowers the incidence of depression. And also, religious participation is correlated with more positive attitudes toward marriage and having children, and negative attitudes toward cohabitation and premarital sex. Most of the scholars agree with the point that life expectancy affects economic growth by increasing the investment in human capital. Longer life expectancy means the higher return of human capital, which encourages more investment in education and then stimulates economic growth. The last and the fourth indicator is the urbanization. This refers to the population shift from rural to urban areas. The corresponding decrease in the proportion of people living in rural areas, and how societies adapt to this change. Overall, urbanization harms religiosity, particularly in terms of participation, which tends to be higher in rural areas than in urban areas. One explanation of this is simply a lack of other leisure activities. Another is that rural dwellers need religion to explain the uncertainties of nature, such as tornadoes, droughts, and typhoons. Also, the daily frustrations and insecurities of living in developing countries, where you might find high levels of income inequality and unfulfilled promises of prosperity, give rise to new religions and strict orthodoxies. In other words, during the tumultuous period of rapid growth, or lack of thereof, the high levels of inequality, people turn to new religions. Therefore, if many people may find urbanization very hard to adapt, the values taught from religions will encourage a person to overcome every hardship in life and be ready to embrace changes. And finally, the last aspect on which globalization engendering greater religious tolerance is in society. Religion serves several functions for society. These include giving meaning and purpose to life. Religious tolerance is necessary for individuals within the society to get along, especially when the variety of cultures and people with different religious beliefs live in one community or nation. When religious tolerance is practiced, unity and consistency exist in society. Religious belief and practice contribute substantially to the formation of personal moral criteria and sound moral judgment. Regular religious practice generally inoculates individuals against a host of social problems, including suicide, drug abuse, out of wedlock births, crime, and divorce. The second function of religion in our society is reinforcing social unity and stability. Religion strengthens social stability in at least two ways. First, it gives people a common set of beliefs and thus is an important agent of socialization. Second, the communal practice of religion, as in house of worship, brings people together physically, facilitates their communication and other social interaction, and thus strengthens their social bonds. The communal practice of religion in a house of worship brings people together and allow them to interact and communicate, and in this way religion helps reinforce social unity and stability. The third function of religion in our society is that serving as an agent of social control of behavior. Religion teaches people moral behavior and thus helps them learn how to be good members of society. In Judeo-Christian tradition, the Ten Commandments are perhaps the most famous set of rules for moral behavior. Because society believes that we are all accountable for our erroneous actions, that is why we tend to do good and do right to avoid unwanted consequences and become effective members of society. The fourth function of religion in the society is promoting physical and psychological well-being. Another function of religion in society is promoting physical and psychological well-being. Religious faith and practice can enhance psychological well-being by being a source of comfort to people in times of distress and by enhancing their social interaction with others in place of worship. Many studies find that people of all ages, not just the elderly, are happier and more satisfied with their lives if they are religious. Religiosity also apparently promotes better physical health, and some studies even find that religious people tend to live longer than those who are not religious, according to Moberg of 2008. The final but definitely not the least function of religion is that it may motivate people to work for positive social change. With the majority of global citizens belonging to a religious tradition, it should be no surprise that religion often becomes the greatest asset in humanitarian work. In working through the mandate of our various religious traditions towards the healing of the world, we often come to understand that we have more in common than we had initially realized. Through the advancement of technology brought about by globalization, it is now very easy to communicate with other people across the globe, regardless of the differences in our beliefs and cultures. That would be all. Thank you for watching. The Lord bless you and keep you always. Once again, this is Danala Dasma signing off.